Well, it looks like humanity insists on playing God. They insist that they are the ultimate all-knowing being of the universe. And even now the insanity continues. We know what man is capable of. We can only need to look down the corridors of history for millennia to see that man, given the opportunity, will attempt to fiddle with this and fiddle with that. And usually, or a lot of the time, when man does that, we end up with millions and millions of people dying. Yes, man also can do good, medicine, etc. But it seems man's destructive and nature and their desire to play God is continuing and will continue to do so. Scientists propose controversial plan to refreeze North and South Poles by spraying sulfur dioxide into atmosphere. Well, I mean, I don't know about all this thing about planes flying, people claiming they're putting stuff. What are they doing and questioning what they're doing? But to me, it seems in order for them to actually propose this and be fairly confident that they can do this, then they haven't just suddenly come up with this. They surely must at some stage have been doing this or seeing if they can do this. So are all these conspiracy theories correct concerning jet streams or whatever it's called in the sky, all these lines of white this and white that? Seems to me it ain't no conspiracy theory, because they're talking about doing it and fiddling with the weather. They're amazing, aren't they? Eh? Wasn't Bill Gates or somebody talking about blocking out the sun with a big screen or something? Yes, this is their insane ways of doing things. People are insane, folks. Absolutely insane. These are the same people that are raping and pillaging the Earth's resources and making billions and billions and billions. And then they turn around to us and say, oh, you're to blame. You're to blame. It's your fault. Because they want to bring something else out. They want to rape and pillage the earth using a different method so they can rape and pillage the earth resources, so they can steal what's ours and fill their bank accounts, only in another couple of decades to be told, well, let's tell the people we need now to bring in something else so we can rape and pillage the earth. A fleet of 125 military air-to-air refueling tankers would release a cloud of microscopic sulfur dioxide particles at an altitude of 43,000 feet and a latitude of 60 degrees in both hemispheres, slightly shading the Earth's surface beneath. What are these people doing? What are these people doing? And there we go. There's the unbelievable. Scientists have outlined a controversial plan to refreeze the North and South Poles and dial down the global thermostat. You know, climate change has happened for millennia. The last ice age, 4,500 years ago, was a result of God's worldwide global flood to judge humanity for their great evil they were perpetrating on the earth, and God then promised he wouldn't do it again. He put the rainbow in the sky. Now, before the flood, the Earth's climate was warmer. The flood caused volcanism, it caused all kinds of activity which would have created an ice age, and that's what happened. So what we see in the North Pole or whatever, in the South Pole, the Antarctic, what we see is the aftermath of the last ice age, which is now coming back to an equilibrium. The seas have been rising for millennia since the last ice age, and it's moved back towards equilibrium. It's nothing new. I've done videos on Welsh kingdoms found under the sea which were once exposed and have been covered by the sea. There's many kingdoms around the world, there's many cities which are found to be underwater because the sea has covered them over due to the rising of the sea levels from the last ice age. That's what we're witnessing, folks. But these absolute crazy, insane people want to experiment with the climate. They want to experiment with the planet, our planet. They want to experiment with it. And it is those that cause any devastation. They are the ones, and then they'll point the fingers at us again. They say high-flying jets could spray microscopic aerosol particles into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight and cool the melting ice caps. Around 175,000 flights a year would be needed. Oh my God. Oh dear. Releasing millions of tons of carbon dioxide. But a former UK chief scientist backed the plans, telling Sky News the polar warming is now critical and refreezing the ice could hold back the rise in global sea levels. The new study was led by Wade Smith from Yale University in the United States. He warned the plan would treat an important symptom of climate change, not the cause. It's aspirin, not penicillin. It's not a substitute for decarbonisation, he said. Under the plan, a fleet of 125 military air-to-air refuelling tankers would release a cloud of microscopic sulfur dioxide particles at an altitude of 43,000 feet and latitude 60 degrees in both hemispheres, roughly equivalent to the Shetland Islands in the north and the Falklands in the south. The particles would slowly drift towards the poles on high altitude winds, slightly shading the Earth's surface beneath. Just over 13 million tonnes of particles released in the spring and summer will be enough to cool the polar regions by 2 degrees Celsius, with more moderate cooling at mid-latitudes, according to the research published in the scientific journal Environmental Research Communication. I see mad scientists with wavy, curly hair sprouting out from everywhere, and the madness you can see in their eyes. This is the kind of people that are trying to do this and persuade people to do this. What are we letting them do? We're just letting them experiment on us and generations. The plan is controversial, not least because the large number of flights, equivalent to more than 2 days of global air traffic in 2021, would release greenhouse gases into the upper atmosphere, where they are more damaging. Other scientists are also cautious about unleashing solar shading because it could have unintended consequences, such as reducing crop yields. Yes, the madness, the insanity. A plan to release particles from a balloon in northern Sweden last year was abandoned after protests from environmentalists. A large-scale release program would need international agreement, but the research argue only 1% of the human population lives in the target deployment zone, and $10 billion a year cost of the program would be far less than the carbon capture or other means of mitigating or adapting to climate change, they added. If the risk-benefit equation were to pay off anywhere, it would be at the poles, said Mr. Smith. So they're intent on this insanity. Any intentional turning of the global thermostat would be of common interest to all of humanity. No. Their experiment, their stupidity, their insanity will not benefit humanity. It will end in absolute devastation. The poles are warming several times faster than the global average equilibrium from the last ice age. The seas have been rising for millennia, with record-breaking heat waves reported in both the Arctic and the Antarctic earlier this year. Yes, as the ice melts, as we move on and there's less ice, you're going to have higher temperatures because it's going to make the ice melt quicker. If you've got a 20-mile thick block of ice, the coldness in that 20-mile thick block of ice is going to prevent the ice from melting as fast as that ice would melt. If it was only a 1-mile block thick of ice, it would melt faster. It's simple physics. If the vast Greenland and West Antarctic ice sheet reach a tipping point, now seen as likely in current projections of global warming, then sea levels would rise by several metres. Been rising for several metres for millennia. Sir David King, a former government chief scientist and founder of the Centre for Climate Repair at Cambridge University, told Sky News that radical action is needed to save polar ice. Dear me. Dear me. Oh, you know what? There's fossilised whales in deserts. Under the Sahara Desert is a vast ocean. The Sahara Desert used to be an ocean covering it. It used to be an oasis. And these people are insane. And you need to check yourself. Do your own research. That's essential. We keep on emitting at the current rate. We are cooked. No one is saying we shouldn't look after the planet. We should look after the planet and manage it correctly. That was what was given to the command by God to Adam and Eve to manage correctly. They chose to ignore, but that's another story. The main story of humanity and the curse on humanity. And it says, Dr. Sean Fitzgerald, the CCR director, said the large number of flights could be justified. And they always justify anything when they want to play about with things, don't they? We are worried about the impacts of climate change right now. It's really urgent. The CCR is working on stretching its lamps to brighten clouds over the Arctic Ocean. With a fleet of ships pumping seawater into the atmosphere, the clouds would reflect sunlight back into space, cooling ice in the region. The CCR supports a United Nations moratorium on attempting any form of geo-engineering at scale unit until experiments have shown it is safe, and there is agreement that there is a critical need to use it. So they accept it's geo-engineering, and that's what it is, man. Playing God in this instance. Nothing new. Nothing new. And you can guarantee one of them or some of them or a group of them or a huge amount of them will be profiteering from this. And it's all your fault. That's what they'll say. They need to do it. They'll blame you. You, the peasants, will be blamed. Yes, you, the peasants. Build back better according to whose standards?